Exiles TV, Tuesday, the 19th. And so glad to have you with us once again. As we're moving on up towards Inauguration Day, the Biden administration will be sworn into office tomorrow. And there seems to be a lot of apprehension about that. Mm-hmm. As much as 25 to 30,000 National Guardsmen have been brought into, and I think this is just overkill, it's ridiculous. But they need more. Not only are they bringing in National Guardsmen, 20, 30,000 National Guardsmen, but they're seeking to individually vet them. Because, see, they think that as much as 75% of the National Guardsmen may be white boys who voted for Trump.
Well,
I just heard this. Last hour
exactly accurate.
On news. It was a guest on Newsmax, and they said 70 to 75% they figure are white boys who voted for Trump.
Well, that's not exactly accurate. That's abusing the statistic. Polling is pretty accurate on this exit polling, and 75% of white males in this country voted for Donald Trump. That doesn't mean 75% of these guardsmen voted for Donald Trump, and they don't care whether they voted for Donald Trump or not.
No, but they're seeking to vet them and make sure that they're going to serve their country and not their guy.
Well, they're vetting everybody.
Thank you for giving them the benefit of the doubt.
Not a matter of that. By the way, this is normal.
It's not normal. Where were 30,000 National Guardsmen the last time we got president sworn?
Not the number. But whenever you have an executive security event and you are bringing in people that are not a part of the original team, you always vet them. You know why? Kind of like the guy in the airport. You can grab somebody else's ID and show up and fall in line and say, I'm a member of the Guard. So that's why they do it. This is normal. Now, 30,000, that's not normal.
No.
But you do vet. Whenever you're doing an executive security type of event, you vet everybody.
If you see any footage from D.C., it's looking a lot like Moscow. There's razor wire everywhere. There's a wall up around where the inauguration
It's prettier, but it looks a lot like
It's funny. It's Democrats are okay with building walls when it suits them.
Democrats didn't build that wall. They're not in power yet.
Yes, they are.
No, they're not.
Yes, they are.
Happens at noon tomorrow.
117th Congress.
Did you wake up on the wrong side of your IQ this morning?
117th Congress is already in charge, my friend. They're large and in charge.
They weren't in charge when this all happened. This happened under Homeland Security, for which Donald Trump has appointed the director, who is still in place until noon tomorrow.
Okay. You say so.
Well, that's the fact.
I'm telling you, they've all stepped aside, and they're just, whatever you want, guys, whatever you want.
Well, if that's true, that's their decision as well, and it's still the same people.
Mm-hmm. So, is there a credible threat at the state capitol here in Baton Rouge, Louisiana, of some crazed, toothless Trump fiends going nuts? What would be the benefit to seizing our state capitol?
Well, or just demonstrating in front of it.
They're allowed to demonstrate. That's the First Amendment.
But I mean, here's the whole thing. This state went for Trump, so they really don't have anything to say here.
It's like you're preaching to the choir down here.
Yeah. But they like to go out and be together. It's kind of like, here, hold my beer. They
all just get together and do the electric slide. We should get a DJ down there for them. We're going to talk, though.
That would be even less pretty than it is now.
A lot of state capitals are concerned with what they think may be credible threats to the peace tomorrow. Mm-hmm. And we're going to talk about, are there credible threats to the peace, both here and in other locales around the country.
And what was the origin of the information?
Mm-hmm.
Our guest, in just a little while, Colonel Mike Edmondson, retired as Louisiana State Police Superintendent. He is now involved full-time in the security and logistics business. He's going to tell us a little bit about that as well. But that'll be in just a minute. Have you heard that all of a sudden they're reviving the big debate about raising the minimum wage again to $15 an hour?
Wow, big mistake.
Well, I think so too.
Kill small business. Absolutely kill small business.
Well,
I think that there are people who don't care if small business is destroyed. That we've got enough big business that covers what small business does. Do we really need small business anymore?
Well, I don't think it's a matter of whether they care or not. I think they're just totally unaware of it. But here's what's interesting. The actual numbers on this is it would take 13 million people who are living below the poverty level right now in this country, and it would bring them above the poverty level. Oh, excuse me, 31 million. 31 million people.
Okay.
All
right.
But it will also cost 31 million jobs.
Yeah.
Which is a reason why bringing this up now, when the country is still economically, shall we say, tentative, is really stupid.
Well, see, all those people who are like, oh, yippee, I'm going to make $15 an hour. Thank you, Joe Biden. Thank you, Kamala Harris, for making things finally fair. And then 6 months later, they find their job has been eliminated and they no longer have any income.
Well, and that's a big part of it. You know, it's, and this is not the time to be talking about raising the minimum wage. If we had had a normal 2020 and we saw the normal economic development and growth in this nation, it might be worth discussing on a few levels, but not now.
The minimum wage, Bill, as you well know, used to be a starting place for people as they entered the workforce.
Yes.
And the desire to make better than the minimum wage used to be the impetus to bust your ass and earn more money.
Mm-hmm.
Get noticed by your boss, get hired at a place that pays better. That's the way it's supposed to work.
Go to school, get a little education.
That's the way it's supposed to work. You're not supposed to have Uncle Sam evening out the playing field for you while you flip burgers for $15 an hour. That's not the way it works. If flipping burgers is all you're fit to do in a position, you need to go get some remedial training and learn a craft.
Well, and you said something that I find bothersome. I don't like the idea that we are somehow all obligated to level the playing field. The playing field belongs to whomever is best on it. Just ask Drew Brees. Mm-hmm. You know,
Yep.
This idea that we're supposed to level the playing field in all areas is not the best path, because what it does is it kills personal motivation.
But you know what
and
it is?
Initiative.
This idea of leveling the playing field in all areas, it's called socialism.
Well, socialism is a different construct. What it's called is egalitarianism,
Mm-hmm.
and you know what? That has never existed. It never existed.
Have you noticed nobody uses the word equality anymore? It's always equity,
Yes.
not equality, and there's a big, big difference.
Well, yeah.
Listen, Marty's telling us we need to take a break, so let's do that.
Oh, he finally came back over here?
He's already
telling
gone
us?
bam, bam, bam on that tablecloth.
What do you think? You want to take a break?
Yeah.
Let's do rock, paper, scissors and decide what we're going to do. You ready?
Rock, paper, scissors,
Yeah.
lizard, Spock.
You ready?
Okay.
All right. 1, 2, 3. Up, tie. Let's do it again.
No break.
All right.
We'll be right
Take
back.
a break.
We'll be right back in moments here on Exiles TV.
No one can stop me when I taste the feeling. Nothing could ever bring me down. Nothing could ever bring me down. Taste the feeling.
Hi, I'm Bobby Yarborough with Manda Fine Meats. Here at Manda, we know what the folks of South Louisiana love. They love great flavored smoked sausage, delicious deli meats, and specialty items like boudin and andouille sausage. Manda Fine Meats has been providing these products since 1947. We produce them right here in Baton Rouge, so you know you're always getting the freshest product at your local grocery store. Manda Fine Meats. Taste the fresh local flavor in everything we make. Make it Manda every time.
Desire in your eyes, but you can't keep it in your heart. 'Cause misery loves company. 'Cause misery loves company. Cold and hungry like a dog in the street. I get a raw deal every one.
Welcome back. It's Exiles TV. As we get ready for the peaceful transfer of power, I think a lot of people are concerned, will it be a peaceful transfer of power? Not for the players involved, but for the people who voted one way or another in the election. Bill and I have had this discussion many times. We see things a little differently. I think that there's more than enough circumstantial evidence to suggest that the election was tampered with, not by the big machine. I think the guilty parties here are overzealous people on local levels in various states that wanted to make sure that their guy won. It's hard to prove, definitely hard to prove, but is it worth investigating? Yes. And I think that an investigation will happen.
I think so.
I think that the truth will out. I think that guilty parties are already being identified. We had a person arrested here in Louisiana for election fraud. It's happening in other states as well. But that's not going to change the outcome of the election. Do you agree? I mean,
yeah, it's not
no
going to change
matter how
the
many guilty parties, nobody's going to say this was all Joe Biden's fault. His presidency is illegitimate.
No,
it's not going to happen.
I don't think it's going to change a darn thing, to tell you the truth. What I think is very, very interesting is I think there will be a peaceful transfer of power. But what I'm enjoying is, for better or for worse, we're following the 9/12, 9/13, 10/1, 10/15, 11/20, 12/21 playbook from 2001. That any possible mention of an incident is bringing a very strong deterrent response. And I think we need some introspection here, because the fact of the matter is that what happened on January 6th was deplorable, and it scared people. But just like with 2001, 9/11/2001, there were all these people that, we never dreamed someone could hijack an airplane and use it as a weapon.
Somebody dreamed it.
It's like,
Tom Clancy wrote a novel about it years and years beforehand.
well, how about the kamikazes in World War II
Yeah.
doing exactly that?
Never dreamed you could use an airplane as a weapon? What were you dreaming of?
Well, and you never dreamed that angry people called together to protest on a specific day at a specific time might actually turn the corner from protest into riot. So what we're going to have, I think, is we are going to have a disproportionate potential response. And I don't know that you can do anything else, but here's the deal. Nobody in any group that feels that they have a grievance, nobody that can band together and say, all right, let's take some action. Nobody is going to do it when they can see with their own eyes that you got 30,000 armed people out front of your potential target.
Yep.
So let's get this over with and go about the business of everybody getting on with their business. Here's an interesting little statistic. I can't remember the guy's name. He's kind of a funny guy. He's a big time expert.
You're a funny guy,
But
Solly.
you're a funny guy.
I'd kill you last.
But he said he has been watching and making phone calls and things like this, and the actual posting on the three majors. So I assume he means Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram.
Yep.
The actual posting about the election was stolen, we need to take action, is down 71%.
That's good.
Well, what that also tells me is, God willing, these people have kind of blown their wad, as it were, on this one little deal, and anything else will take a different and perhaps more reasonable and peaceful tone. But I think you still have to have the guys there. You can't afford to take the chance.
Wow. I don't think we need the guys there. I think a standard security. I think we're blowing this whole thing up. I think the events of January 6th were a little too convenient. I think that the fact that the invasion of the Capitol was underway while Donald Trump was still over at the Washington Monument speaking speaks for itself. I think that when you have people that work close to the Capitol and say, "Man, these guys were let in," there's photos of them being let in. Mm-hmm. They're walking on the red velvet rope. You know, they were let in. It's like after they were let in, then they got out of hand. But this thing was a little too, I don't know, it just seems like what they want to do, and people are now talking about it. I just saw a headline on that TV screen over there. As you're now hearing liberals talking about reprogramming conservatives and Republicans and people who supported Donald Trump. We need to reprogram them. What the hell does that sound like to you?
If anybody needs to be reprogrammed, it's the Republican Party. They need to reprogram their damn party.
Well, they need to get their crap together, but I mean, dude, I read 1984. We're only about 40 years off from what we're seeing here. Yes, I fear for the continued freedom as we know it in the United States, because now we have people who want to tell us how we should think.
Well, everybody
And that was
tells
one of
you
the
how
big
you should think. Donald Trump told you how you should think. Everybody tells you that.
But when they tell you that your thinking is not correct, we need to fix that.
Everybody tells you that too.
When?
You're thinking wrong.
When?
Donald Trump said
When is
they
it?
won the election. We have to go and stop the steal. We have to tell them how to think. And I'm telling you to think that way.
When has
Everybody does that.
when has anybody talked about rounding up liberals and reprogramming?
Nobody's talking about rounding up anybody. It's just specious talk.
No one?
No, they're not saying, oh, we need to round people up.
No one.
Who-
Any of you guys out there heard any of this in the media? Liberals talking about rounding up
Attribute
conservatives
it
and
to
reprogramming?
somebody. Attribute it to somebody that
Alejandra
used.
Ocasio-Cortez.
Did she say round people up?
Yes.
And how did she propose to do that?
That was a good question. She didn't have an answer to that one. She wasn't questioned about it because, hey, they're on the winning side. You don't question
Don't
it.
take the bait. Do yourself a favor. Don't take the bait on
It's
this.
just, it's a dangerous precedent to be set when you talk about reprogramming.
Well, there
people,
isn't any precedent
re-educating
yet.
people.
There is no precedent. These are people saying, oh my God, we got to get them to think right. They don't have the power to do that. They don't have a mechanism to do that. So it's just blowhards. Don't take the bait. Don't let this ruin your day.
Oh, it's not going to ruin my day.
That's ruining my day.
I thought this was good when two hosts were not in lockstep and agreed with everything each other said.
No, that's wrong.
I
You
think-
need to be reprogrammed.
I think you're taking things very mildly. You know, I mean, you're a Republican. You're seeing your party's power being gutted.
Yep. And they soon will not be my party if this continues. And you know what? I'm telling you the truth now. I'm not kidding. I'm not making light of this. I want to hear from our congressional delegation, with the exception of Cedric.
I don't want to hear things Cedric's got to say. He works for Joe now.
Well, yeah, I don't want to hear from Cedric, you know. But I want to hear from them two things. I want to hear what evidence they saw personally to back this assertion
Which assertion?
that the election was stolen. I want to know what evidence they personally saw. And then I want to know what they are going to do to try to salvage the basis of the Republican Party from their position in D.C. And you know what? I love a lot of these guys. I love Garrett Graves. I love Mike Johnson. Ralph Abraham, I always thought he was a really great guy. He's gone now. But I think I'm going to hear a lot of, well, you know, it's going to be tough. And you know why? Because we've got a group right now, and this is going to change, I'm sure. But as of right now and through all of last year, we have a group that says, you know what, I really need these wahoos and yahoos to get elected, so I'm going to play nice with them even if I don't agree with them. And you know what? If that's the case, you shouldn't be running for office. If you're a Republican, you should run on the principles of republicanism, not on this. Time to take a break. We'll be back in a moment.
To that I was going to ask.
Live and play on the fairway at Greystone Golf and Country Club, a serene, challenging golf destination located in Denham Springs. For tee times and membership opportunities, go to greystonecountryclub.com.
From appetizers, pasta dishes, and entrees, La Contea takes pride in preparing all the Italian cuisine we know you love. Enjoy live music every Thursday through Saturday from 6 to 9, happy hour weekdays from 3 to 6, and brunch on Sundays from 11 to 2, as well as dinner portion-sized lunch specials for under $10. Visit our website to view our menu and book a party or meeting in our large banquet room. Once you try La Contea, your Italian dining will change forever.
No one can stop me when I taste the feeling. Nothing could ever bring me down. Nothing could ever bring me down. Taste the feeling.
Hi, I am Dr. Farrell Frugier Jr., and I am a general dentist at Frugier Family Dentistry. I was born and raised in Baton Rouge, Louisiana. I went to Catholic High School, LSU, and LSU School of Dentistry in New Orleans, where I received my DDS degree in 1986. I always have and will continue to be committed to continuing my education, to invest in technology which makes the diagnosis and delivery of dentistry more thorough, more comfortable, and more aesthetically pleasing. In our practice, we are here to serve the patients. We want to improve their quality of life and to develop relationships with our patients. In dentistry, we have a chance to impact lives on a daily basis, not just by doing dentistry, but by getting to know them and being a part of their life. We also believe in giving back to our community. So every year, we give back to the Greater Baton Rouge Food Bank, Toys for Tots, and Mary Bird Perkins Cancer Center. Please stop by and visit our office. We would love to take care of you and your family.
Team Honda wants to thank you for once again making us Louisiana's #1 new car dealer by offering you never-before-seen savings. For the first time ever, get 0% financing up to 60 months on some of your favorite Honda models. Get thousands in savings right now at Team Honda on Segan Lane.
Welcome back to Exiles TV. Glad to have you along with us. Kevin Gallagher, Bill Profita, and in the center, retired State Police Colonel Mike Edmondson, who is still involved in the security and logistics business with a company called K-Solve. He also does independent consulting under his own name. But Mike, the reason we wanted you here is you spent a great many years where you had to get intel, be given intel, evaluate threats. And I think a lot of people don't understand threat response, how you evaluate what you get. So let's start in your experience. When you would get something from the FBI, is the way they worded it, is the way they put it, how seriously you take it? Do you have to take everything at level 10, or how do you ramp it up?
Well, it breaks down. First of all, thank y'all for having me. I really enjoy doing this. I miss doing it. Certainly when you did something for almost 4 decades, you miss it. And I miss talking directly to the public, because I mean, an educated public is a much better public. Let them make up their own mind. Give as much information as you can out to them, and let them know what's going on. And I think we're missing that in these days, especially in law enforcement and for what we're seeing going on around the country. But as far as intelligence, and we have a state fusion center in Louisiana, as do all 50 states have that. That is information that is received not only from the FBI, who sends that information out across the country, but also from our major states. We interact daily with New York. That was something that was important to me as we built our fusion center. And by the way, we were the #1 fusion center in the country. Little old Louisiana, 4.5 million people. Our director and our fusion center both received, just prior to my retiring, the fusion center and director of the year, as did our DNA laboratory. So we were certainly doing things right in Louisiana, and we were getting seen from around the country. But we'll receive information based on something that takes place, and let's look at it first globally. Something happens in Jerusalem, if something happens in Africa, Asia, anywhere on the world, we in Louisiana sit there and say, okay, what effect will that have on Louisiana? Something happens in New York, California, Florida, Texas, North Dakota. What area in Louisiana could have some type of effect of what happened wherever it is on earth or around the country? And then we'll try to play the what if game, and we'll receive information based on who's living and what's taking place in the state of Louisiana. And then we share that information. One thing that was important to me when I took over as superintendent was to go sit down with every single sheriff and every single chief. That has to take place. You've got to have, no one is more important than the other in Louisiana. You've got to have that ongoing communication with that sheriff, with that local police chief, with law enforcement, with first responders, and that takes place. And then we share that information. Hey, what effect does that have in Beauregard Parish, in East Carroll Parish, in Rapides, Jefferson Parish, East Baton Rouge Parish, and what do you need from the state police? What do you need from the federal government? And we start having those conversations. But we don't wait till something happens. Those are ongoing conversations that take place all the time in Louisiana.
So, Fusion Center got something from the FBI. Every Fusion Center in every state said, you need to beware at your state capitals because there are liable to be protests that get out of hand on Inauguration Day. Is that a red flag kind of warning? Is it a just in case kind of warning? How do you deal with it if you're responsible for securing the Capitol?
Well, first of all, we secure the Capitol 24/7, 7 days a week. So that takes place all the time. There are groups that come in and protest on the Capitol steps. The vast majority of the time, it's very, very calm. That's taken place over the last several days, over the last several weeks. Different groups that came in that were mad that Trump wasn't elected, happy that Trump wasn't elected. So you've got both sides of it. So that takes place all the time. That communication takes place. When we receive information, we vet it. How accurate is it? What type of effect do we believe? Working with the Baton Rouge City Police, who have their own intelligence, with the East Baton Rouge Parish Sheriff's Office, with the surrounding law enforcement agencies. Do y'all have any information that might include a group that might wish to do harm? And you have those conversations, and then you proceed accordingly. You know, one thing that you've got to always be cognizant of is that worst case scenario. You've got to prepare for that. You certainly prepare for the worst and pray for the best, but you've got to worry about, what about that lone person that wants to make a name for themselves, that just wants to get on the media, that wants to do something that'll bring light to that person's views and those types of things. And I think you just prepare for those things by being constantly aware of what's taking place around you and constant communication with your law enforcement partners to find out, hey, could something happen? And but from what I understand, I talked to Colonel Lamar Davis, who's doing an outstanding job as a new superintendent. I applaud his promotions. I applaud the programs that he's doing, and I hope he continues to be available to the public and having conversations with them, because I believe that's what will help him. And there have been no known threats to the Capitol, no known threats to right here in Baton Rouge that we know of. Can't let our guard down. We've got to be prepared up until through Inauguration Day tomorrow, and just be prepared for it going forward.
Well, and as Bill had mentioned in a previous segment, this is a state that went Trump, so I wouldn't expect that there'd be, violent protest here in Louisiana. Just, but there are people that want to have their voice heard. They want to be noticed. They want to get press time on the 6 o'clock news. Has there been any indication that we could have a larger crowd at the state capitol than one might anticipate?
Now, keep in mind, I'm not in law enforcement anymore, so I don't have those kinds of communications. But nothing that I've read, nothing that I've heard indicates that. Again, I think you still have to be continually prepared for anything that might happen. We saw that during the police shooting protests over the last several years, and certainly when we had our dear police officers were killed in the line of duty here in Baton Rouge. You saw what can spin up very, very quickly. One of the things that we work at is something that we're looking at right here, and that's social media. We pay attention to social media because that is how they communicate to each other in these groups. So paying attention to that, listening to the public. We ask the public if they see something, say something. That is important to us, because the public is an extra set of eyes and ears out there that can give us information that we can adapt to, we can prepare for and respond to. Being proactive. And I believe law enforcement in Louisiana, for the most part, are very proactive.
Well, and also, you talk about social media, and there's no doubt that it is a pervasive force. But social media can also plant a lot of red herrings and can have government and law enforcement chasing their tails because they're totally unregulated and usually invisible. So you can put a threat on social media that, you know, the state library or the state archives building is going to be attacked in some way, and you can put a specific date and time, and there is going to be a 4+ response, because I guess you really can't ignore it.
You can't ignore it, but we look at intelligence in many different ways. Not only do we look at what's taking place on social media, but we're on the streets. We have people actually on the streets that are looking, that are listening, that are paying attention. And then we also look at what's going on around the country. What effect did the protests at our state our national capital last week, what effect will that have on Louisiana? What known groups do we know that actually traveled to Washington that might be back in Louisiana? What information are we hearing from people on the streets as far as groups that say, you know what, we want to have our voice heard, as you said a few moments ago, people that want to have their voice heard. What effect might they have, not only on our state capital, but what about in New Orleans? New Orleans is probably, they know more about New Orleans around the world than they do about the state of Louisiana.
Hadn't thought about that.
Well, and something occurred to me. It's an extremely busy port, and if you want your voice to be heard or your message to be paid attention to, doing something to clog that port or threaten that port's efficiency would be a way to get attention. So yeah, I hadn't really thought that much about New Orleans, but the port of New Orleans is special.
Well,
and you'd be surprised the Port of Baton Rouge rivals the Port of New Orleans as far as the amount of tonnage that comes through. We are probably in the top 5 of ports around the country, between the loop, between New Orleans, between Baton Rouge. The Mississippi River is a major artery for moving goods across our pipelines, our chemical pipelines. You know, it's probably 70% of the hazardous material in the country passes through, originates from, or is destined to the chemical corridor between New Orleans and Houston.
There are a lot of targets here that have to be hardened in times of stress. We're going to continue with retired Colonel Mike Edmondson in just a moment after this break on Exiles TV. Stick around. Now, I went over Sunday to the Capitol.
Bolello's Furniture and Appliances, your dependable independent. Depend on us for service, for selection, for price. Get huge Whirlpool savings. Shop now and save on Whirlpool appliances throughout the store. Plus, experience our price match guarantee and ask about special financing. You can depend on the know-how of people who live appliances every day. Bolello's Furniture and Appliances, your dependable independent with nationwide buying power.
Hello guys, it's Debbie. It's time. I've got a brand new location. 10510 Airline Highway, Baton Rouge, next to After 5 Tuxedos. We have the perfect spot to get all your wedding and formal wear needs. Come see our one-of-a-kind name brand and get great prices. With 30 years experience, the best customer service anywhere. It's Debbie's Bridal, Airline Highway, Baton Rouge. See you soon.
Hi, I'm Hurricane Betsy Barnes.
And I'm Dr. Kay Siller with The Rocket Right Show.
We are two busy blondes on the go showing off life in Louisiana.
Watch us on Pelican Sports Network.
And Talk 107.3 FM. Check local listings for times.
Of all the auto brands on the road today, only one has been named the best auto brand for 6 straight years. That brand is Mazda. Come shop and save on the award-winning lineup of new Mazdas right now at Baton Rouge's Mazda dealer, Team Mazda on Airline.
I owed the IRS $10,000.
The IRS garnished my wages.
They put a lien on my house.
I'm self-employed and didn't report all my income. They claim I owe a lot more than I do.
The IRS is the most powerful collection agency in the world. They do not give up until you pay.
I couldn't sleep. We were being audited. I called Tax Solutions Now, and a great big weight was lifted off my shoulders.
I called Tax Solutions Now, and they got the IRS off my back.
Tax Solutions Now had my wage garnishment lifted in 48 hours.
Tax Solutions Now can get you help. Our agents know the rules, can stop the pain, and get you the best deal.
Tax Solutions Now saved my business.
I qualified for the Fresh Start program. I paid less than I owed.
We connect you with a team of former IRS agents and tax professionals who get the IRS off your back. Time is running out. Call Tax Solutions now.
Call 800-778-4345. 800-778-4345.
Exiles TV. He's Bill Profita. I'm Kevin Gallagher, at least that is the rumor. And our guest is Mike Edmondson, former head of the Louisiana State Police. Mike is now, for lack of a better, a security consultant. Does that make sense?
Yes, so
security and development.
In public safety in that area. But I spent 4 decades in law enforcement. I was incredibly blessed to be the head of the Louisiana State Police for 9.5 years. Had some great people working around me. Got to work for 2 governors. I've got a wealth of knowledge that I can pull in, a lot of successes and a lot of things I say, you know what, we need to do that differently. So I think I can bring that to the table, and I'm helping different companies around the country that just want to get an interview, get an open door, see someone to make a difference, and that's what I do, open doors.
I've got one question. I want to talk about what you're doing with K-Solve and your own consulting company, but I got one quick question about what's happening at the U.S. Capitol. And I think Kevin and I both agree that the response is, and I hate to use this word because everybody's using it, unprecedented. Never seen anything like this in my life. Hope to never have to see it again. And it calls for just your expert opinion. Is it too much, or is it what you have to have even though you don't have a specific time and place of a threat? What if you were the one calling the shots on this, how would you feel?
Well, number one, what happened should have never happened. That was horrible.
True.
It was something that I'm totally against. There's nothing inside of me that would have done something like that. Go there, protest. But when you start inflicting damage on buildings, on vehicles, on people, on things like that. Look, I was totally against any of the protests that took place around the country where they burned things, they destroyed buildings, destroyed people's livelihoods. That is not any of our, that we talk about Martin Luther King. He was never about hatred. He was always about love. He was always about make your voice heard, but don't make your voice heard hurting someone else. That's what it wasn't about. So I certainly didn't like what took place anywhere around the country, and especially what took place at our nation's capital. They weren't prepared. Clearly they weren't prepared. Clearly they had not taken the known threat of a group that were going to be there, and to watch those individuals, and I think there were a lot of heroes from those Capitol Police officers that did a lot of things to the best of their ability, and I certainly applaud them for that. But what took place was horrible and unprecedented, and now we see 100,000 soldiers there, which is almost mind-boggling. That we're going to be bringing in an individual that the vast majority of the nation voted for, over 75 million, and we're going to need an army to make sure that inauguration takes place in a safe manner. And to that alone, it's sad that we have to do that. Now we have to watch it on TV, an area that should be frequented by 1 million people to watch something take place, because regardless of who you voted for, the person that's in office now is a person that got the majority of the votes, that won that office. Let's bring him in, let's support him, and let's do the right thing. So I think it's sad that we got to the point where we're at, and I think the public as a whole should sit back and look and say, you know what, that is not what we're about, and that's not what we should be doing going forward. We've got to figure out a way to quit being divisive, to understand that certainly everyone matters, and we should have these conversations. Everyone should be supporting each other, and it should be about love. It should be. I understand in reality you've got to look at things differently, and you've got to be prepared for everything. But it's sad that the state we're in right now, and I'm hoping that President-elect Biden will certainly do the things that Congress, because Congress is the one that has the most control, that they will do the things they need to step up and be leaders, and our governors around the state will also do the things they need to do to be successful, because they have the support the support of the American people. They have the support of law enforcement and public safety. Let's bring everybody together and let's do the right thing.
Let me ask you a little bit. I guess about 7 months ago, when we were all really, truly locked down, I'm watching television, and Governor Cuomo from New York State is doing his daily briefing, and it's being carried, and he thanked Mike Edmondson for all the work that your company was doing during COVID. And I got up off the couch, and I texted you, and I said, hey, Governor Cuomo just thanked you on TV. And of course, you were working, so you didn't see it, you didn't hear it. But what kind of stuff were you doing during COVID in New York and other places?
I think my name got associated with the company I'm with. Believe me, it's not Mike Edmondson. It's a lot of people. And not just KSOL. We're one of many companies, but we have a contract in the state of New York as well as Florida, where we've been handling disasters. When a disaster happens, we respond to the scene beforehand to prepare for that disaster, but also to prepare for the rebuild afterwards, to make sure the necessary equipment is there. And we've been experts under the name of Gorner Environmental to respond to disasters around the country, especially in those states, as well as here in Louisiana and also in Florida and Texas. So we were already in those states for disasters. Well, the pandemic, the COVID, was just another disaster that we respond to. And we brought in supplies, we brought in people, we supported the medical teams, we supported the infrastructures to be able to take the shots, to be able to draw the samples to test for the COVID itself, but also to provide housing, wraparound search, which is food, water, all those things for the necessity of life. And that's what this company under the umbrella that KSOL do. We also own OMI. OMI is a company in Louisiana that is involved in the cleanup. So cleaning up of hazardous material, of which COVID was a hazardous material. So we were involved in doing that, and that's what the KSOL brand that I'm handling business development for. Russ Allen is an owner out of Houston, but we're in Houston and in the New Orleans area is out of the company that we work for. And I'm just proud to be a part of that and to add my level of expertise. But it's so many more individuals that are actually on the front line that are making those things happen. And how my name came up on that, I don't know. I was never told, but certainly, it's a company that's doing the work.
He was saying something I was interested in, which is rare, and he thanked you, and I was like, well, okay. I figured that you were doing some work with this somewhere in your new livelihood, but yeah, he thanked you on national TV, which is why I texted you.
Well, I appreciate that, but it's the work of those companies and the men and women that they're involved in on a daily basis that are currently in New York as we speak.
So how many times did you have to get tested? How many times were you exposed?
I have. I've been around people that have had it. I've tested 7 times, and I've been negative each time. I don't have the antibodies. I do expect to take the shot at some point when offered. But look, I'm blessed at 62 years old. I get to see my parents every day. I get to talk to them. Not many people at my age have both their parents in place, so I'm blessed with that. And they just got the shot, so I was certainly glad of that. But I'm just blessed that I'm in a position that I can still make a difference, and I want to continue to make that difference.
So, can we slip your business card to the people at LDH and see if we can find a better way to distribute these vaccines in Louisiana?
Yeah, this was the subject of a Bill rant on yesterday's program. Is they don't seem to be doing a real good job with getting these vaccines out.
Well, I think the first people that need to be vaccinated are people on the front line of the health, of the people from the medical industry that work, and they've got to get that shot out to them. They've got to get that shot out to our first responders, and they got to get the shot out to the elderly. You know, those are the most vulnerable groups. Let's get it out to them. I understand talking to an individual at some of our urgent care centers that not all of them are even in line to get the. So I'm curious about that. I think that's something we have to make sure. I think Governor Edwards is doing the best job that he can based on what's been thrown at him. He's been visible. He's talking to individuals. I do still get a chance to talk to him from time to time, and offer whatever advice I can. He's certainly not sought it, but I certainly would offer it. He's got a good staff around him. But I agree, we've got to do a better job of getting it out there. I'm wondering what about the one that has to be kept at a certain temperature? So what happens when the people don't show up to take those shots? Do we just throw them away?
Well,
I hope they're giving them to someone, but I may not know that's actually what's taking place.
We've had two instances. One, they just had to throw them away. The other one, they were smart enough to call a nursing home up in Baker and say, I got 35 doses that need to be used within an hour. Can I bring them over there? So it depends on the individual being smart, but it seems that the amount of vaccine we are getting is ridiculously small. And day before yesterday, they added another bunch of pharmacies, so it's 298 throughout all 54 parishes, and they've only got like 10,000 doses. Yeah. So some of these pharmacies are getting like 12 doses. It's insane.
56,000 being delivered this week, but what Ochsner ran out. I mean, how do major hospitals run out? It's not their fault. It's the fault of the person that's getting it there to them. And hey, it all rests on a person in a leadership role. So certainly I understand that as head of state police, the buck stopped with me. Well, the buck stops with the governor. And he knows that, and I do believe he's doing everything he can to try to get as many doses as possible to our citizens. But you're right, we've got to make sure that the plan we have in place takes into account for any of those things, because you have extras, they can't just sit there. Let's find someone, and there should always be a list of people waiting to take those. Let's get it to them. Let's get them vaccinated, and let's get back to normalcy. Our businesses are dying out there. Our restaurants, our bars, our livelihood is dying out there.
Mike Edmondson, always a pleasure to have you. We got to leave it here. This is time for our final break.
Thanks for coming on.
Come back and see us.
Absolutely.
We'll be back in a moment to wrap it up on Exiles TV. There you go.
Caught spiders. Premier Pest Services.
No one can stop me when I taste the feeling. Nothing could ever bring me down. Nothing could ever bring me down. Taste the feeling.
Hi, I am Dr. Farrell Frugier Jr., and I am a general dentist at Frugier Family Dentistry. I was born and raised in Baton Rouge, Louisiana. I went to Catholic High School, LSU, and LSU School of Dentistry in New Orleans, where I received my DDS degree in 1986. I always have and will continue to be committed to continuing my education, to invest in technology which makes the diagnosis and delivery of dentistry more thorough, more comfortable, and more aesthetically pleasing. In our practice, we are here to serve the patients. We want to improve their quality of life and to develop relationships with our patients. In dentistry, we have a chance to impact lives on a daily basis, not just by doing dentistry, but by getting to know them and being a part of their life. We also believe in giving back to our community. So every year, we give back to the Greater Baton Rouge Food Bank, Toys for Tots, and Mary Bird Perkins Cancer Center. Please stop by and visit our office. We would love to take care of you and your family.
Live and play on the fairway at Greystone Golf and Country Club, a serene, challenging golf destination located in Denham Springs. For tee times and membership opportunities, go to greystonecountryclub.com.
Hi, business owners. Phase 3. Woohoo! But do your customers know you're back? Well, that's where the Clarence Bugg Show and Pelican Broadcasting can help. Right now, we've got great rates on advertising packages to help you get the word out. Shoot me an email at bugsclarence@gmail.com. Or better yet, call me up. I'd love to talk with you. 225-485-6839. Let's get together and make Phase 3 the best it can possibly be.
Got termites? Get Premier Pest. PremierPestServices.com.
Bill, hearkening back to something we talked about before Colonel Edmondson joined it. Do we still call him Colonel?
Yes.
Okay.
You keep those titles.
I think he deserves it.
Yeah.
So anyway, before he joined us on the show, we were talking about, and during our conversation with him, I'm keeping an eye on the Fox News monitor, and yeah, there are increased calls to reprogram Trump supporters. They're not from people, it's not coming from, the Senate Majority Leader, but it's coming from fringe members of Congress like AOC.
Yeah.
But also some media people or people who think that now it's safe for them to let their political colors show. Katie Couric, who I think a lot of people don't take Katie Couric all that seriously.
Wait a minute. Has anybody ever taken Katie Couric seriously?
She was awfully cute in her day, but Katie Couric is one that was on the Bill Maher show actively advocating for reprogramming Trump supporters.
And she can do that all she wants, because who's she going to advocate to? Is she going to call the...
I don't think that she commands a huge following of people who go, Katie said so.
Here's the thing. If you pass out, I can call one number, and the people who will take care of you passing out will come. There is no number to call for reprogramming people's political beliefs.
No, there needs to be zero tolerance for that noise.
Well, but
this is the United States. We don't reprogram people.
Well, there's got to be zero tolerance for all the noise.
Do you remember the idiots who had camps that they opened up where they thought they could pray the gay out of you?
Oh yeah.
Send your gay kid to our camp.
The Esters.
Yeah, and you send your gay kid to us, and we'll return you with a straight kid to you because we'll pray the gay. You can't change who people are inherently. Yes, I'm a conservative. I'm not a Republican, but I'm a conservative, and I align with conservative values here in the United States of America for the most part. When we're talking fiscal policy, spending money you don't have, et cetera, et cetera. But on the other hand, there's a lot of things about which people tell me I'm surprisingly liberal.
Well, the whole thing is, we talked about the labeling theory, and if you're this, you must be this.
Yeah.
If you're gay, you must love musicals.
Show tunes.
Well,
show tunes.
Okay, Judy Garland, I get it. But anyway, not that there's anything wrong with that.
We're kidding. We're joking.
But you talk about alignment, and that's the thing. We have to accept that there are people who chose to identify as Republicans and say they're conservative because they believe most Republicans are religiously intolerant of anything but Christianity. Mm-hmm. It's not true, but that's why they align. There are people who chose to be Republicans or aligned with conservatives because they think conservatives also means intolerant of other races. There are people who decide to align with the Democrat Party because they think that the Democrats allow for a certain amount of social anarchy in calling it free expression, even though that's not the truth. The trouble is, with a democracy as we have it, in a representative republic, you, me, Marty, well maybe not Marty, Clarence, we're all allowed to represent a whole bunch of different views at the same time. Mm-hmm. And as long as you don't raise your fist to somebody while you're representing, the old adage that I've always thought was the best was your personal rights stop at the end of my nose.
Yep, where my nose begins.
And if AOC wants to actually reprogram people, and she wants to put together a congressional committee on reprogramming political thought, then we'll bitch and yell.
Well, what she's doing is she's revealing her hand in what I think is a great deal of ignorance. It's like, so what you're saying is you envision a day where there is no political opposition, where everybody's in lockstep.
Or there's no opposition to what you think.
Where your philosophy is shared with everyone. Wouldn't it be nice if everybody shared my philosophy on life? But that's never, ever, ever going to happen.
That's why I don't bite the hook. That is why I don't bite the hook. Years and years ago, when we used to have violent protests in the street about abortion, and you remember that.
Mm-hmm.
It was 20 years ago, but it's still maybe even longer than that. But it's still happening.
I remember violent clashes here in Baton Rouge.
And I wasn't actually on the air full time at JBO, so it's probably more like 30 years ago. But I was filling in for somebody, and they were talking about abortion. We need to shut down the right to abortion, and I said, so you're against abortion? And this person said, yeah. And I said, okay, there's 2 points. I said, number one is it really doesn't apply to you because you're male. Number two, anybody who doesn't want to have an abortion can just not have one. There is no government mandate that you must have an abortion.
Yeah.
The closest we came to that in this country was offering it in the 20s when somebody was born with a severe mental defect, what we used to call mental retardation. But it wasn't mandatory. And that's the thing about these people that call reprogramming and all. I'm not going to bite the hook. I'm not going to give them any more air, because until they have a mechanism that I get to vote either for or against, or until somebody comes to my door and knocks and says, I'm from the government reprogramming committee and I'm going to tell you what you must think. As prayer in school. You know what? If I'm in a school and I want to pray, you really can't stop me. You may never know I'm doing it. So what these people are mostly about is the drama of playing out how they would like to do it.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody stops a kid from praying in school, but the parents are thinking that it would be great if their kid would, turn cartwheels down the aisle and handle a snake and all that in the middle of the classroom.
Is it irresponsible for a seated member of the U.S. House of Representatives to wish out loud for for a media audience?
It is absolutely irresponsible.
That's
it's
my
rude.
thing. We have a seated member of Congress who, as I understand, is going to have a committee chair this year.
Is she going to be the chair of the Daiquiri committee?
Here's the kind of rhetoric she's
a bartender.
This is the kind. Yeah. Here's the kind of rhetoric she says. She's a wonderful dancer.
Mm-hmm.
Wonderful dancer.
Great handwriting.
Yeah.
But no, it's not just irresponsible. It's ridiculously rude and short-sighted.
It should be something that Congress does not let members of Congress do without someone getting on the House floor and going, shame, shame, shame. You should never espouse.
I think you call something like that out of order if you're in session when she says it.
Yeah. That's our program for today. We hope you'll join us tomorrow. And until that time, you take care of yourself.
Clarence Buggs is next. Be well.
God bless.
Bye-bye.